excited to see what they're doing today and what they have planned for the future. So without further ado, we welcome Alese and Bridget.
I'm Bridget, this is Alese, name tag on, and we're here today to talk about merger match, where our goal is to prevent post-acquisition failure in the mergers and acquisitions business. The past year, 2014, these are brand new stats, fresh out from the industry analysts. In the past year, in the U.S. alone, there were over $1 trillion in mergers and acquisition deals done. Of those, almost $600 billion will result in losses, either outright failure or an additional 33% of those in missed goals, not attained goals set by the acquisition. That's a pretty big problem that we're trying to solve, and that's what merger match is all about. Okay. Alese and I both worked for a number of financial services companies in our career. We've done many, many acquisitions. Some succeeded, most did not. One of those in particular, the financial services company I worked for, bought a really cool startup company with a lending front end. Everybody was happy. It was a really good deal. 2 years later, we couldn't integrate the software. Most of the key people had left because they didn't want to work for a large bureaucratic software company. They were startup people. And we ended up writing off the software. It was a total failure. So that is what we were trying to prevent with merger match. We have developed a comparative assessment of organizational and operational capabilities that allow us to match, measure, and analyze the fit of two companies together, or a target company with the acquiring company. I won't spend a lot of time on that because it's a little bit overwhelming. We might spend more time on it than we want to. Okay, so how do we do this? It's a pretty easy. It's a consulting engagement. It's us and our piece of software. We assess the acquiring company. We get a baseline set with them and allow them to set the targets for the company that they want to buy. What level of capability do they want to have in all of these different dimensions and attributes? And then we assess the prospect using our merger match tool, and then we go and analyze the results. So the outcomes from that at an early stage, way before we get into the nitty-gritty of the deal, are: do we go for it, which is a good outcome that they're usually looking for? Do we use that information to reprice or rethink or restructure the deal, or do we just kill it altogether? That's not the answer they want to hear, but many times it's the answer they need to hear. In our analytics, we allow them to look at all these capabilities and organizational attributes and see, hey, this is where I am, this is my benchmark, and I can measure that over time for improvement. Then I can lay on top of that, this is where I want the acquiring company to be. My goals for them aren't quite as aggressive, but I still have some minimum requirements. And then how do they fit that? And where are our matches? Where are our mismatches? Where do we line up on those critical things my company is looking for? And then we look at those biggest gaps. Are they insurmountable? Are they gaps that we can negotiate over, lower the price, or are they just deal killers? And then we use all of that information and analyze that across there to come up with our recommendations and to set the stage for integration activities post-acquisition if it goes through. Most of our experience is in the financial services, technology, and software industry, so we kind of focus in there, although this model could span any industry. It's really agnostic. And again, we look at those gaps. So how can you benefit from merger match? Well, as a buying company, we can help ensure investment success. You don't want to buy a company and go into it without knowing whether you have a good chance of success or not. As a seller, do you want to tee yourself up to be a better acquisition target? You can do a pre-analysis or pre-assessment to evaluate how well you would look to a seller, how good you would look to an acquirer. Sorry. As an investor, many of y'all are in the investment community. It's just another added layer of insurance to say the company that we're trying to buy measures up, that they have these capabilities, gives you better insight in the due diligence process. And then finally, the M&A brokers, the investment banks, the consulting firms that all broker these deals, their focus is not on killing the deal. Their focus is not on post-acquisition success. Their focus is on doing that deal and making their fees. What we can add to that is negotiation points and leverage points to do a better deal for them. So very different perspectives on those different ones. As I said before, this year, in 2014, we saw over $1 trillion in mergers and acquisitions. That represents a 78% growth, which gives us a great opportunity to launch Merger Match because the market is just growing and growing and growing, more and more M&As all the time. Our target fee, we're looking at either just a set $50,000 minimum to start, to get our feet wet, and then increase that to 0.5% of the deal valuation or anything else we can negotiate. So why Merger Match? Well, in this market, there are very large firms, investment banks, the very large consulting firms, all the way down to small firms that are what are called deal brokers, M&A brokers. All of them are focused on getting the deal done. Very, very little interest in post-acquisition work. They'll give lip service to, you know, oh yeah, we want to do an assessment, we want to make sure you match, we want to make sure the integration capabilities are there, but they're really, that's not their focus and not their interest. And they have very little incentive to change. What we are focusing on is what happens afterwards. And so we really want to get in front of the actual acquiring company to help them with their post-acquisition success. So that's a pretty big target. So we say, why now and why us? Well, we think we're uniquely qualified. This model that we are using is, I won't go into the technical details, but it's an industry standard assessment model. I hold 2 patents for a previously defined model with the same technology. It had certification in that. It's a huge market, and no one is addressing this problem. We can't find a single competitor who is addressing post-acquisition success and analytics going into it ahead of time. So we think we've got a good market. So as we said, it's Alese, I'm Bridget. Our background, again, is in financial services, software, and technology, but we don't think this product is necessarily limited to that. And we are ready to jump off.
Give it up for Alese and Bridget. All right, thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. So now we're going to jump into the Q&A. We're going to do this for about 20 minutes. So if you have questions, please ask and take it away. Who has first question?
Hi, Lou McAllister, entrepreneur residence with Interest Center. So I've seen this several times now. Right? You have several different potential points of engagement, right, or customers, right, on this. So who really is the ideal customer, and how do you get engaged with them instead of sort of looking across the spectrum of potential customers?
Is this on? Okay. That's a good question, because ideal versus most likely are 2 different things right now.
Answer both.
Our ideal customer would be the actual acquiring company. And because we're directly helping them, we want to get in between them and the deal broker, if you will, and say, hey, because they may want to kill the deal, and the broker's not going to want to do that. So there's kind of a conflict of approach there. So we prefer to deal directly with the acquiring company, and even possibly as they look at multiple companies, right? They may go through 6 or 7, and we'd like to be engaged in that whole process. Most likely way to start is through a broker or an investment bank, because we can be an add-on, a white label to their business, and kind of be under the radar there and get some practice with our model.
If you're assessing most likely, that's, you know, a perception kind of thing. But I have to say the people who have reached out to us already and say that, gosh, we'd like to take a look at your product, are people who are looking to sell their own company and want to do a better job of being prepared for that activity. So it may be that those need to be on our, you know, most likely list. Just a thought.
Hi, Eric Caldwell with WebJive. As an interested seller and I come to you, is there a certain process you go to seek out buyers for that company, or how do you see that process working, or do you see yourself as being an intermittent broker for somebody between those two?
Okay, we really don't want to get into the deal brokerage business. That's a whole set of arcane skills and personality types that I don't believe work for us. It's important to know what you're good at. And we know a lot of people who are really fantastic at brokering those deals, and I would rather refer our customers to somebody with those skill sets. We're really good at making connections.
Greg Monica with Government Supply Services out of El Dorado, Arkansas, and we are one of the prime vendors for the state of Arkansas with office supplies, technology products, and MRO products. I'm curious, how could you support a company that's not trying to sell at this point, but would like to have an evaluation of the company to see what it would be worth for future, prospects? Or do you do that, or is that something that you would refer?
We don't get involved in all the deal valuation or the financial side of it. We're not trying to get into that part of the due diligence. We are strictly looking at operational and organizational aspects, but not valuation at all.
Okay, thanks.
Joe Calhoun, Holsey Calhoun, IP Lawyers. What have you done to analyze the efficacy of your system? Does it really work? Have you tracked after the deals and say, hey, we were on the target here, or we missed it there?
With this particular model, since it's not fully developed yet, we haven't done any of that, but with previous models that I've developed and we've used in different corporate venues, we have tracked the efficacy of them. We, in fact, do a repeat benchmark on a semi-annual basis and built a normative database of results so that we can compare industry by industry, result by result, different groups of companies, and have shown process improvement over time and capability improvement.
Do you have a figure? Do you have a number?
It varies by industry. It varies by the area of the business that we're trying to improve, whether that be marketing or infrastructure or whatever. So there's not just like one number you can throw out, but we've developed a quotient, and we'll probably develop something very similarly with this model, different quotients that measure your capability improvement and targets.
Mike Stafford, CEG Partners, consulting and recruiting company here in Little Rock. Have you considered selling the software as a service to other M&A companies?
We absolutely have, and kind of our plan for that is to get the model vetted out, to test it, to kind of keep it close to the vest and do it ourselves for some period of time until we're comfortable, because we know there'll be tweaks and tunes to the model as we progress, but absolutely then that is one of our growth plans, is to sell the licensing.
So over the long term, we really do have a scalable plan. The way we discussed it this morning, it sounds like the Alese and Bridget show, and that doesn't sound, but this is just stage one so that we can perfect the model and get clear about how our outcomes actually come about and how the engagement process works. Over time, we hope to both develop some software, perhaps make it available on the web, find some way to license it to other people, train other people to do the kind of assessment process that Bridget and I can do. And we think that that is what makes this company grow large. We also see value in the data that we will be acquiring about companies. You asked about how we actually affected the numbers. And 5 years out, we hope to be able to give you a really solid answer that shows you that the failure rate in this broad industry is whatever number it is, probably unchanged from today. But the companies that we've engaged with have this different, much better number.
Next question.
Hi, what are you doing to try to reach your ideal customer? And have you planned some sort of orchestrated launch for the product? And I'm just curious, how are you getting the word out about yourself?
I'm sure I should have a better answer for this. But currently, we're networking with friends and family, all of our contacts in the community. We're having lunch and coffee and whatever else with them to let them know what we're doing and getting the word out that way. And we're working on a plan that goes broader than that. Are you in marketing? Oh.
We have a lot of contacts in the financial services and marketing industries, and as Lee said, the friends and family thing, and we're trying not to outrun our development, and get too far in front of that, because we have to actually have the product ready to launch before we get too aggressive with that. But we definitely are starting to reach out and get those connections.
Hey, it's Mike. Hey, so a two-part question for you. One is why Little Rock, and you might talk a little bit about the financial services industry here, because it is a unique sector for this market. And the second part of that is, as a startup, why Little Rock, and what has been working and what, in your opinion, is needed to help a company like yours that has a huge upside to get done what you want to get done.
Okay, well, first of all, we're not just focused on Little Rock. We just happen to live here. This could be launched anywhere. We assume that our customers will be anywhere, and we're both consultants by trade already, so we're used to traveling all over the place to meet with our clients. So we're not limited to the Little Rock market at all. It does help that the Little Rock market has had a big financial services and continues to have a very large financial services industry. And we can tap into that. We know a lot of those people, so that's really good for us. But it's certainly not a narrow focus of just Little Rock or just these companies. It's a national, well, international focus. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in on that a little bit. You may or may not know that Little Rock is home to one of the biggest brokerage houses west of the East Coast. Stevens is huge and very widely respected, so that's a tremendous asset in Little Rock. And Little Rock is also home to a number of fintech companies that were big startup stories back in the day when Bridget and I were much younger. There's Systematics that's now Fidelity, FIS today. It changes too often. And there's Axiom, which also plays in that space, not fintech, but big data and software marketing. And there's Euronet and Arkansas Systems, and what's Keith Eagle's company? I can't think of the name of it. It's something arcane, Smiley Technologies. So Little Rock is home to a wealth of banking software companies, and those people know about deals that we want to get involved in. So aside from the fact that we just happen to live here, Little Rock is a wealth of opportunity, and I might just pick it as a good place for a startup. I think we have. We have.
Next question. Yeah, I have a question. Jordan again. Explain a little bit about your progression through the pre-flight class, and how did that change your path to starting Merger Match?
This we should jump back. Honestly, when I started pre-flight class, I was just didn't really expect to get that as much out of it as I got out of it. It was a great surprise. It was more challenging than I anticipated. And honestly, our business idea morphed. I mean, I think one of the best things about it were the mentors that we had available to us throughout the process, because we were able to bounce our ideas and actually changed our entire approach to what we were doing about halfway through. And then changed it again, and then changed it a little bit more and fine-tuned it. And so I think we came out the other end of the pre-flight class. We went into it with an idea. We went into it knowing we were going to start something. What it changed into and how it strengthened and firmed up and became a lot more viable as we went through, I think, was the biggest value to me. Plus, we got to meet some great people. and extend that network of mentors and people that we know. It's been extraordinarily valuable for us. It was time well spent, and it also enforced time for us to work on this together that we might not have taken with our busy, careers that we have.
We have time for a couple more questions if anyone has one. And if not,
Jordan, I want to tee up on that last question.
yeah, okay.
When we walked into a pre-flight class, I mostly just wanted to take the class to see what it was all about. We thought, oh, we got this idea we talked about over a couple of years. Let's take that one and run with it. We weren't really serious. Both of us had busy, lucrative consulting practices, and so this was just something to do on Monday night to learn a little something new, because that happens to be a core value of mine, is to always be learning something new. And along the way, in the process of meeting with mentors and developing our idea, we realized we actually had something. So, 14 weeks later, however long the class was, we went from, let's just do this for fun, to having something that felt real, to the point where we both restructured our consulting practices to give ourselves time to work on this. So we're now financially committed to making this happen. And we wouldn't have done that without the pre-flight class. We would have still just been talking about it, going, oh, this is kind of a cute idea.
All right. If we don't have any other questions, there's one thing we do for every single company that comes through 1 Million Cups, and I know Alese is well aware of this, but for those of you who have not been, every single company, we want to make sure to end on what we can do as a community to help their company. So, ladies, what's the one thing we can leave with today, or maybe something we can help, in the near future, for a growing merger match and helping you guys in the community?
Well, introductions, referrals, recommendations, and just feedback. If you have feedback for us, what you think about this, cautions, just any kind of feedback or referrals is really what we need at this point.
All right. Well, congratulations on all of y'all's progress. I'm really excited to see what y'all have in store for the future. And if you don't mind giving them a round of applause.